Now we continue our 7th chapter, control and coordination. Today we discuss about reflex actions. Reflex actions. The meaning of reflex is, what is the meaning of reflex? Reflex. The meaning of reflex is some sudden action in response to something in the environment. Some sudden action in response to something in the environment means reflex. Some sudden action in response to something in the environment means reflex. Two types of reflexes. There are two types of reflexes. First one, simple reflex. First one, simple reflex. It is inborn or natural, which did not require previous learning. Simple reflex is inborn or natural, which did not require previous experience or learning. There are some examples of simple reflex. First, quick closing of eyelid on noticing an object suddenly approaching the eye. Example, quick closing of eyelids on noticing an object suddenly approaching the eye. Suddenly approaching the eye. Second, coughing. When the food swallowed enters the windpipe. Coughing. When the food swallowed enters the windpipe instead of the food pipe. Next, narrowing of the eye pupil in strong light. narrowing of the eyelids, or pupil in strong light. Next, if the foot of sleeping person is tickled, it is jerked away. Fourth example, if the foot of it is jerked away. Next, second type of reflex, that is conditioned reflex. Conditioned reflex. First, simple reflex, and second, conditioned reflex. It is the outcome of repeated experience. The conditioned reflex is the outcome of repeated experiences. Examples: applying brake when noticing someone suddenly coming in front of it. Applying brakes when noticing someone suddenly coming in front of the vehicle. Next example, tying shoelaces while talking to someone. Tying shoelaces while talking to someone. Third example, standing upon seeing the teacher entering the classroom. Standing upon seeing the teacher entering the classroom. Next, reflex arc. Reflex arc. What is reflex arc? The pathway of completing a reflex action. The pathway of completing a reflex action is known as reflex arc. The pathway of completing a reflex action is known as reflex arc. Next topic, mechanism of reflex action with an example. Mechanism of reflex action with an example. Mechanism of reflex action with an example. If a person touching a hot pan and fastly withdraw the hand, the example of mechanism of reflex action that we take is if a person touching a hot pan and fastly withdraw the hand. If a person touching a hot pan and fastly withdraw the hand. Here the stimulus, that is heat from the pan. The stimulus, that is heat from the pan, that stimulate the receptor in the sensory organ, that is hand. The skin of hand is the sensory organ. The stimulus, that is heat, stimulate the receptors in the sensory organ of the hand. Then the impulse passing through the sensory nerve fiber, that is neuron. Then impulse bring to the impulses bringing to spinal cord. From there a motor neuron send out the command to the muscle of the hand. Then the hand withdraw. Here we can see the example. Here the stimulus, that is heat. The stimulus heat stimulate the receptor in the sensory organ, that is hand. Then the impulse passing through the sensory nerve fiber, that is neuron. Impulse bring to spinal cord. From there a motor neuron sending out the command to the muscle of the hand. Then hand withdrawn. Here the impulse traveling this pathway. So one reflex arc completed from the saucepan, the heat saucepan, heat to sensory neuron, and here the spinal cord, and then coming out from the motor neuron and then to the muscle of the hand withdrawn. Here completion of reflex action or reflex arc. Now we can draw the flow chart of this example or this reflex arc. The stimulus, that is heat. Here heat is the stimulus. That stimulate the receptor. The heat stimulate the receptor in the sensory organ. That the skin of hand. Then this impulse passing through the sensory nerve fiber. The impulse passing through the sensory nerve fiber. Sensory nerve fiber means the sensory neuron. Then this impulse bringing to spinal cord. From the spinal cord, a motor neuron sending out the command. To the muscle of the hand. Then the action, that is hand withdrawn. The impulses traveling through the sensory nerves to the spinal cord and the response that coming out through the motor neuron to the muscle end. Here the hand withdrawn. Now we complete this part, reflex actions. If you like this session, like, share and subscribe.